Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a craftier person after watching this video. So there is no such thing as overtime? Great, good to know. Hey Reddit, this is my first post and it's my boyfriend's story. So a bit of backstory, my boyfriend's boss is a bit of a D, but unfortunately he's also his uncle. My boyfriend works in IT, he handles a lot of complaints regarding servers and general IT stuff. For the past 3 years he has worked overtime for free. It's difficult to say no to family. He answers his personal phone and has to drive long distances to fix problem clients are having, sometimes at 10 at night. Recently we've been trying to save money to make a life together, so my boyfriend decided to ask the boss to finally get paid for all the overtime hours he'll be working from now on. The boss is livid. He states that he will not pay my boyfriend overtime money and he shouldn't ask again and that he should be grateful for his job. He concludes by saying that there is no such thing as overtime in this business. Can you see where the malicious compliance comes in yet? So my boyfriend now does not answer any calls after 5 or before 8. The boss has to take all those calls and drive the ridiculous distances himself. Boyfriend gets called in and is asked why he isn't picking up his phone because the clients are getting really upset at him. Boyfriend's answer? I'm sorry, but you said there's no such thing as overtime? I've never been more proud. You want me to offer credit card applications to every customer on Black Friday? You got it. Written on mobile, TLDR at the bottom. Way back in the late 90s, my first job was as a part-time cashier at a department store. As part of the job, we were expected to repeat a script to each customer that went as follows. Would you like to put this on your store card? If the customer says no, then, do you have a store card? Would you like to apply for a store card? If the customer declines, then we were to proceed with the transaction as normal. However, my store manager, SM, wanted us to be more aggressive and go into details with the customer about all the benefits that come with the credit card. I absolutely hated doing this because 1. The credit card was absolute garbage with an impossibly high interest rate. 2. Customers don't like to be harassed and would take out the frustration on me and all the other cashiers. And 3. It took way too much time and led to long lines. Because of this, I only ever asked customers if they wanted to put their purchase on their store card, and if they said no, I left it at that. This particular incident happened after I'd been on the job for about 6 months. It was the Wednesday before Black Friday, and store manager called me into his office when I was clocking out after my shift. I'm paraphrasing because it happened so long ago. Hi Sun Kisses, I wanted to talk to you about your credit apps. You have very low numbers, and I see you've only done 2 this month. Yes sir, not a lot of customers are interested in the store card, but I do make sure to ask every customer if they want to use their card. I don't really feel comfortable going into the details of the card after they told me they're not interested in applying. To be honest, they get pretty mad and the lines can get pretty long. I know you've only worked here for 6 months, but I expect you to go through the script with every single customer. No exceptions. Every single customer you encountered should be asked to use their store card, and if they don't, should be offered a card. You are expected to go over all the talking points with every single customer, every single time. If a customer gets upset, call the manager code in the intercom. Understood? Yes sir. Now my next shift was at 5 AM on Black Friday. I was scheduled to work the electronics department, and there was a huge sale on TVs. TVs could only be rung up in the electronics department and there was only 2 registers there. My close friend was scheduled to work the second register in the department. I think you know where this is going. For a little icing on the cake, our store was expecting visitors from corporate early that morning. Store manager wanted me to go through the script. He got it. When the store opened at 5, an onslaught of customers came rushing through the doors, grabbing the tickets for the TVs and then sprinted to the registers. My colleague and I made sure to go over the script with every customer. In detail. Don't have a store card? Here's the application. Let me go over all the details. Here's the promotional interest rate. This is what the rate is after the promotion is over. You'll have 60 days before your first bill is due. The line of customers was wrapped around the corner and well into the next department, and they were absolutely livid. The amount of curse words that were thrown at me was unreal. After my 3rd customer, a man in line loudly demanded to speak to my manager. You want the manager? You got it. I called over the intercom the code for a manager. Guess who showed up with 2 corporate bigwigs in tow? Yeah, my store manager. I watched him come around the corner with a smile as he was chatting up one of the corporate guys and saw his eyes widen as he was faced with an angry mob of customers who all started to shout their complaints about how much time we were taking and that no one cared about the freaking credit cards. His face turned a wonderful red colour that creeped up past his collar and spread over his cheeks. His angry eyes locked on me. He angrily strode up to me and slammed his fist on the counter. What the hell, Sun Kisses? What is taking so long? I put you in this department because you are one of my fastest cashiers. Now, I was only 16 at the time and extremely short at that time, so when he yelled at me, the customer mob went silent. I I started to feel fairly embarrassed, so I quietly said, "You told me on Wednesday that I had to go over all the talking points about the store card with every single customer, no exceptions. I was just doing what you told me to do." My eyes started to water a little, mostly from the embarrassment of being called out in front of the whole store. I knew he'd be ticked off, but I thought he'd just tell me to discontinue the credit card selling. At this point, I look up at the crowd and all of their hostility was no longer directed at me, but at the store manager. Customers started yelling at him for yelling at me and making me sell credit cards and wasting everyone's time. One of the corporate guys stepped in at this point and told me to just ring everyone up and not worry about the store cards. He gave me a coupon code to give everyone an additional 10% off the sale price of their purchase and asked to meet the store manager in the back. And just like that, all was right with the world. My friend and I made quick work of the line. Customers were happy to get an extra discount and my store manager got a talking to from corporate. I don't know what was said, but after my shift, my store manager called me out the back, with the corporate guy sitting next to him. He apologised for yelling at me and then told me that the cashiers were only required to ask if the customers wanted to put purchases on their store card and only offer information if the customer requests it. I accepted the apology. My store manager was transferred to another location not too long after that, and I found a better paying job soon as well. You want to slack off? Stop making me work as a receptionist. Disclaimer, I don't remember all the details of this exactly. Further disclaimer, as I'm not sure whether this belongs here or in Petty Revenge, I'll be posting it to both places. I typed this up shortly after it happened last month, but I'm only posting it now. I work for a small company on a one-woman IT support team for around 30 people, 20 with computers. Our main office where I work is in the magical city of country music, Bible thumpers and tourists in cowboy hats. We've seen quite a few colourful individuals pass through this company, many leaving in frustration at the management, and one even leaving in handcuffs. But this story is about a girl from Texas. Miss Texas was hired on about 2 or 3 years ago as HR, and was about as entitled as they come. Very pretty, but she seemed to think everyone was her slave except for 2 people, the CEO and the ops manager. There had been several incidents with her, such as making an engineer go to the store for her to fetch Christmas decorations, and making one of the welders install those stupid headlight eyelashes on her car, etc. Nobody wanted to talk to the ops man about it because we're pretty sure he was having an affair with her, or the CEO because he hired and vouched for her and he would just kick the can back down to ops man. She was, for all intents and purposes, unfireable. This particular story begins when Miss Texas and the CEO got it into their heads that incoming calls must be greeted by a human being, not an IVR, during all business hours. Customers don't want to sit through an automated touch-tone system. They'll hang up and call our competitors. So I changed the routing, and the task of answering every single call fell to the office administrator. Admin stormed out 2 weeks later, with a middle finger for Miss Texas, never to return. Odd, I thought. We're a systems integrator, not some sort of retail or service business. Our customers are big corporations, not let me speak to your manager Karens. It couldn't have been that bad, could it? Now, we no longer had anyone to answer the phones. Miss Texas was too lazy to hire a new receptionist, which of course meant somebody already working here had to do it. I bet you can't guess who. Of course you can. I argued the point that I really didn't have time to answer the phones. I was both IT support and .NET development. Miss Texas argued along the lines of, "But you hardly do any work anyway. You just sit here and play games and wait for someone to have an IT problem." We argued over email back and forth for the whole day, culminating in her screaming in all caps, "You will answer the phones. You will make it your #1 priority. You will be terminated if you fail to answer a single call, effective tomorrow." And so tomorrow I found out just how bad it was. 2016 was when robocalls first started to creep into the wires, and wouldn't you know, we got them. A lot of them. We also got legitimate telemarketers, which were even more annoying as they took more time to deal with. All in all, about 5% of the calls I fielded were from actual customers, and they all just asked for engineering department anyway. Now, here's where my role as IT comes in. IT waitlines were getting long. Salesman A needs this computer looked at. Engineer's B domain password needs to be reset. I stoically explained to everyone that the lead times for their issues would be a little longer than usual, as Miss Texas was forcing me to answer calls. I complied with her order to the letter and let the IT issues just pile up, not to mention zero progress on my software development project. When someone bought a computer to me to look at, visibly annoyed that I couldn't just come to their desk like I used to, I'd of course be happy to take a look at their computer. But when the phone rang, I would stop what I was doing to answer. I was swamped and I hated it. By Friday, I'd had enough, so I put a maliciously compliant plan into action. On Monday, Miss Texas marches into the server room and puts her personal cell phone on my desk. "My Wi-Fi won't work anymore. Will you fix it?" Well, Miss Texas, I don't know much about iPhones, and technically I shouldn't be working on employees' personal devices. Her face darkens, and as soon as she opens her mouth to tear me a new one, I interrupt her. Of course, our company policy allows me to make an exception for you. She smiles. But I'd have to write up a very detailed ticket for it, for documentation. Is there any way we could, skip the documentation? It's just a Wi-Fi reset. I can, but you'll have to wait until I finish my work with everyone else's issues. And when will that be? Oh, I don't know. There are a lot of people in line in front of you, plus monthly network maintenance and backup recovery audit is this week, and I have to stop everything I'm doing to answer the phone 20 times a day, but I can probably get to it today. I never got to it today. Or the next day. Over the week she kept pestering me about it, complaining about having to use her own mobile data, begging and demanding me to fix it because she had coverage charges on her data plan, etc. Every single time, I would bring up how swamped I was with phone calls and other things, even interrupting her once mid-conversation to answer a call, which left her fuming. Every day I would find a new excuse. She ended up threatening to fire me a few times, copying Opsman and CEO in emails about my insubordination and how slow IT service was. But every time I would reply all and directly quote the all-caps email she sent demanding me to make phone reception my first priority. Finally, on Friday, I told her that maybe, just maybe, if I didn't have to answer the phones, I could find some time to work on her iPhone, and overlook the fact that she was using company bandwidth instead of her own data plan. I said that last part with a very pointed look, and her expression when she realised I'd known all along why she needed the Wi-Fi was priceless. Within the hour, I had an email asking me to change the call routing to one of the sales staff. Sorry, Tim. Here's what was actually going on. What Miss Texas was doing instead of working on hiring new people, writing employee reviews or managing office supplies, incoming or outgoing mail, etc., was watching Netflix. Although we had no content filters because CEO was a penny pincher, we do have DNS logs on our firewall. Every day at about 9:30 AM, there would be regular requests to Netflix content servers domain names until 11:45, when she'd go and get fast food, and it would start up again at 12. After I changed the Wi-Fi password, there was nothing. HR has a camera in the office to make sure nobody commits fraud or steals any files, but her body blocked line of sight to her phone. In the end, Miss Texas was never actually caught or fired. I couldn't blow the whistle because dynamic IPs are tricky to prove, or so I thought. If I'd known a little more about Windows Server's DHCP role at the time, this would have been pro-revenge. She instead ended up leaving 5 months later to pursue better opportunities, which basically meant she had a very nasty breakup with Opsman. But at the very least, I forced her to go without her House of Cards binge at work for a week, escaped from the telemarketer reception hellhole, and held an empty thread of ITCs all over her head until she quit. I was reminded of this because last week I finally got approval to switch our call routing back to an IVR instead of a live answer every time. Our current office admin has never been happier. Note, for those unaware, an IVR is the automated answering service that says, for X department press 1, for Y department press 2, etc. Okay, so that's all for r/MaliciousCompliance. I really hope you did enjoy this one. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!